Okay, so now we're going to talk about prepping your once-fired LC machine gun brass. Now, I guess the first step to this is buying it. And there's all kinds of vendors out there that sell it. The best luck I've had, and I'll link to in the description, is Tactical Brass. Every time I order from there, I generally only get maybe 1 or 2 head stamps in the lot, which means sorting by head stamp is a million times easier. So in this case, what I have here is some LC09 head stamp brass. I don't know if it's going to focus or not. There we go. And this brass came to me cleaned and deprimed. So we're going to talk about some of the steps that need to be taken in prepping for this. So, the tools you're going to need, obviously reloading press, reloading die. This happens to be a Forster 308 National Match. I really like Forster products. As you can see, I got their coax, and I use a lot of their dies. You're going to need a primer pocket tool. And this tool, Hornady made a little deal. And it was basically a little motor with a threaded rod that stuck out that you would attach different tools to, and it spun it, and you could use it to clean out the primer pockets. That broke. I think the threaded rods snapped off. Anyways, so I just used these little RCBS hand tools, and this is a primer pocket cleaner, Swager by Hornady. We got a flash hole deburring tool. You have a case gauge, absolutely mandatory as far as I'm concerned. Some sort of way to trim the brass to length. I'm using these WTF trimmers by Little Crow Gunworks. There'll be a link in the description. Absolutely amazing. A cordless drill. And you're going to need some brass. I highly recommend sorting by head stamp. That seems to be sufficient. So once you sort them by head stamp, and sort them by weight into half-grain increments, I seem to get decent results doing that. And you're going to need some sort of case lubricant. So I use 2 basic kinds. I have 99.9% alcohol mixed with lanolin, and approximately I believe a 10-to-1 ratio. I have to look that up. And I use this if I'm going to be, say, resizing and depriming, 1,000 cases, because it's real convenient. I just put it in a plastic bag, spray, shake it, and then get to work. It's also dirt cheap. This is identical to the case lube Dillon sells, and I can make this for 1/100th of the price they sell it for. Today we're going to be using Unique. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I'll do the first case. So I'll size one case, size the next 2, then lube the third case again, and using that method, I've probably loaded 10,000 rounds off this much of this Unique. Your fingers get greasy, and it does leave a residue on the outside of the case, but it's like the best. I've never stuck a case using this or the lanolin stuff. So I want to say this was like $6. I don't know. I walked into a sporting goods store and just bought it one day. Like, the price was trivial enough that I didn't even have to remember what it was. So I'm going to be loading 11 cases. And walking through that process. The reason why I'm doing 11 is the first step of my load development program I use, which is called OCW, or Optimal Charge Weight. The first step is to find out your max load. And the way you do that is you load up 10 or so cases with ever increasing loads until you find one where you start seeing pressure signs. So that's why we're starting with 10 rounds. And once you see this process through the first couple times, there's no reason to see it again. It's pretty straightforward and simple. So when you're dealing with these once-fired military cases, excuse me for a second, you'll have deal with the fact that they're quite stretched out and oversized because they were probably fired a machine gun, and they came with a crimped primer pocket. So you have to remove the crimp. There's a million ways that I've seen people do it, you know, anywhere from using a drill bit to using a chamfering tool. I use this primer pocket tool. See, it has a shoulder here. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna resize the case first. I'm gonna clean the primer pocket. I'm going to deburr the flash hole, and then I'm going to trim it to length, and I'm going to check it in my case gauge. And then we're going to put it into here, and then we're going to move on to cleaning it, and then cleaning will be a separate video. So you can see. Now, you're going to have to use your man muscles and a big boy reloading press to do this, because as you can see, if I put this, here's one that I've already, it's been through the whole process. It fits in there perfect. And here's one before being prepped. I mean, that's sticking out, I don't know, half an inch. So obviously this case has been stretched quite a bit. So, you just take a little bit of this, rub it on your fingers. On the neck, we'll do a little more since this is just the first one. Now what I like about the coax is you got this universal shell plate. You just have these jaws that move in and out. And the die floats in this plane, on this axis, and the shell plate floats on this axis, so I get crazy concentric ammo out of this thing. So we're going to go down till we start getting some resistance. Right there. Come back up. Make sure we got enough lube. Turn the case. Go down a little further. There we are. And we're just going to test this real quick. Boom. And you can tell, see how far that sticks up? You know, it's probably 30 thousandths of an inch right there. So that's how much this case is stretched from being fired in a machine gun. So we're going to deal with that next. So we're going to take our primer pocket cleaner and just do this by hand. And I have another one that I actually run in the drill, but I can't find it, so I have to schlep and use the hand one. See if you can see that. It almost like it chamfers around here, and it cleaned out and uniformed that pocket. So we've taken care of our military crimp. And we got our deburring tool. Doing this and this deburring is a one-time operation. So once you've done it once for the case, you should never have to do it again for its useful life. So you just kind of turn it in here, reverse a couple times to break the chip off. And you're probably not going to see it, but you'll look down and what you'll see is just around the flash hole a shiny ring of brass where it's been deburred. And then I inspect this side, and if I see any burrs, I'll give it a quick deburr. This is probably not necessary. Alrighty. So now we trim to size. The best way I found to do this is to hold it, just get it going, and put it in, add it in slowly. There we go, we should be trimmed. Check it. So we're good there. We're perfect there. Let me find my deburring tool. Here's a tool. I don't even remember who this is made by, but you can index this cutter in and out. And this is a machined surface, concentric and parallel to this. So it's a uniforming tool. It cuts perfectly uniform primer pockets. And see, I just raised a burr on this flash hole. I use this in a drill bit for my my not, once fired, my brand new brass to uniform the primer pockets. And I do not know what happened to my chamfer and deburring tool. What's funny is, like, here it is. I'm always losing my chamfer and deburring tool. Here's the Lee version. I prefer the Hornady solid one better, but I've lost it, which brings me to my next point. I lost it because I was using it doing plumbing in my old house to deburr and chamfer copper pipe. And it got lost, and I was borrowing a toolbox of plumbing tools, and I left it in there, and then it got lost from there. So I had to, as an emergency, I realized it was missing, and I needed to load some rounds for a match. I went out and bought this Lee one. It works, but I really prefer the solid one-piece Hornady. We're going to give ourselves a little deburr and chamfer. And there we have it. It's one loaded case. So we'll do a couple more. And then I'll cut the camera off, or I'll leave it on and just fast forward, and then we'll check them for run out. In fact, we'll leave one out to do a before and after comparison. In the first couple cases, especially these once fired machine gun brass, I lube every case because you got to have a ton of lube, or you're going to stick a case and then you're in a world of hurt. That's why I don't like this particular tool on the deburr side. I just don't, it doesn't really cut that much. It takes a lot of rotations. It's hard to get the tool to run concentric with the case, I guess. Alrighty. I'm going to get the rest of these done, then we're going to check them for run out. Okay. Hopefully you're able to see this. Looks like we're running out about 1,000, and I think there's actually a low spot on here as well. So let's check one that hasn't been prepped. Yeah. So that's, 4 thousandths, give or take. So, next step is we're going to clean it.